Nazar, one thing that caught my eye is the quote on your wall that says, strive not to be a success, but rather of value. Can you please explain what does it mean?
Well, you know that it goes back to, as they say, the who and the why. And I basically will tell you in the short form is that the who is the value, and the value is the clients. The clients go into why we become successful if we provide the value to them. And the how is really, again, back into if you provide the value, you become successful, not the other way around. If you notice, right after the word value, there's a nice period because
that's the
value,
end of the
period.
Story.
There's no more discussion. Value is the word we believe in. Provide value and you will be successful, and that goes for everything.
Wow, that makes sense now. Nazar, you came to United States from Ukraine at 15 and barely speaking English, and started your first business at 19. A lot of people in that situation just try to survive. What made you think that you're gonna build something of your own?
Well, since probably about 13 years old, I've always thought about taking care of myself. I grew up without a father. My grandpa died when I was 9 years old. No siblings, no really men in the house. So my defense mechanism, if you will, was a survival mode, and that catapulted into knowing that there's nobody there to come to me and save me. So it was an instinct to basically be always ready to take care of yourself and take care of others that will be my future family. So right from the beginning, I knew that I'm on my own. I think that would be the short answer to this. And when I came to the United States, I saw a big opportunity of something that was much broader than what I thought I could achieve in the past.
What was the pivotal moment in your business that, looking back right now, you think that if not that, I wouldn't be here now?
I had lots of them. To say the least, the pivotal moments were in different ways. I remember working with some folks in the beginning, and they asked me, "Why are you working so hard? It's already nighttime." And back when I was still in the trenches of hand tools and tool belts in my early 20s and late teens. And my answer to that was basically non-responsive. I just kept working. There was nothing to respond to something like that. And my always go-to is I outwork everybody. Doesn't mean that I'm just physically going to outwork people. You have to work smarter than harder. But at the end of the day, you have to put the action in. You got to crank that gear.
You literally started Avatar Construction with $300 credit card, buying tool at Home Depot and returning them the next day. At what point did it stop feeling like a hustle and start feeling like a real company?
It never stopped. It's always a hustle. But the hustle is different levels of hustle. You could have hustle of trying to put $300 together and making that 6, and 6 becomes 12. But that's the compound interest or the compound effort, I say, that have become what it is. Here we are sitting in my conference room office with you, and you and I didn't know each other for many years. We've known each other for a few. But that's where the compound action plan comes, and you keep going. I moved from one area to another. I refused to be answering to a landlord. I built my own house and so on and so forth. And I think that it's not, hustle never stops. I think when you stop the hustle, it becomes pointless. It becomes of no interest, at least to me.
Your personal website lists 12 rules and principles for success. One of them is risk as if the deal has already gone bad, and calculate the consequences of loss. Can you walk us through a real deal where you applied that thinking?
I apply it all the time. So when I underwrite the deals, whether it's investments or estimates, but especially investments, I underwrite them as if it's a bad economy, as if the interest rates are going to go up, not down. Of course, there's a hedge there for lower costs and efficiency, but that's not how a deal should be underwritten. And I think that it's applied to what I always describe as marriage. Marriage is a deal. Of course, I'm not saying you could be married to different wives and every year and things like that, but I'm simply using that as a pivotal point, as a structural integrity side of a deal. Is that I'd like to talk about a divorce before we get married, because I think that if more people in real life talked about how the deal will go bad instead of being optimistic and laughing and cheering on how the deal is going to go well and good, would do themselves a lot of favor and protect themselves from pitfalls. That goes into entitlement of projects. How many deals have we seen that go in front of ZBA and planning board, and everybody's just go to whether a restaurant or dinner or a bar and cheer and oh my gosh, we got this approved, and then the project doesn't get out of the ground. Why doesn't it get out of the ground? Because they didn't do their homework. They didn't underwrite it correctly. They said, well, how can we underwrite it if we don't know what we're building? Well, that's the skill that we have here at Bridgewater Development, is that we project the feasibility of the project. We underwrite the pitfalls before we even sign on the deal.
Another one of your rules is ideas and thoughts don't make money, actions do. In a world where everyone's talking about vision boards and manifestation, as you spoke about it, that's a pretty blunt take. What do you say to someone who has a great idea but hasn't taken that first step?
Well, I mean, it's like everything else. If you're lifting, let's just say in my bodybuilding short-term career, you can lift with no brains or be too smart to lift. So it's the risk assessment, and I think many people are afraid to take the risk. They're like, oh, what if I go and do this and lose my money? What if I do? Look, you should be just saying, am I not fortunate enough to get up today and do it? Am I not fortunate enough to go to bed and tomorrow I can get up and actually get it done? And the money is just, I mean, money is a trade. Squeezing your muscle with weight is money. It's just a different type of money. Your pay, your pay is what you put into the efforts is the result that you get. Your money is what you eat, what you're gonna look like after you consume that food or that water. We call it, we do something, we say it's money. Why do we say that? Because that's a different version of money. Soccer players kick the ball to get money. Fighters punch each other to get money. We underwrite deals and we get money. Yeah. If we don't underwrite them right, we don't get the money. But all of that takes action. If a businessman is not going to risk and learn, he's not going to achieve the things. If a same soccer player, isn't going to break some shins of his own even, and or that same skier that doesn't get hurt, but it's how well you get up. Sometimes people have said, well, Nazar, how do you go, and I've had my moments in 2007 and early in my age, how do you burn to ashes and get up? It's consistency of hustle. It doesn't stop, as I said before. It doesn't stop. It doesn't matter you fell down. It doesn't matter you broke down. It doesn't matter you got divorced. It doesn't matter, well, hopefully it doesn't happen to many people, but it doesn't matter that your partner deceived you. These are all lessons. You just don't stop. You have to have the integrity and strength to push and don't stop.
So now let's talk about some business. This was a mindset section that we started with. You run 3 companies. Avatar Construction, Adidas Custom Home Builders, and Bridgewater Development. How do you decide where your personal energy goes on any given day?
I think that goes for any businesses, right? So whether you have 3 hotels, 3 restaurants, and a landscape business, I don't know if that's a kind of a weird mix, but you may have a few law firms, and you have a construction business, development, etc., a bank. I think it all goes into what's the most important piece of any business. And as Warren Buffett said, when you get up in the morning, of course we can think about God in the morning, about our family and things like that, but we're talking about strictly business. If the first thing you think about when you get up is your client, is your customer, you will be successful. So that goes into, I don't think on what I need to work on, I think on which client I need to work on. It's the client. Mm-hmm. And client could be a customer that's looking for us to entitle a piece of land. It could be a customer that's looking for design build services. It could be a client that's looking to invest. They're all clients. So the focus is on the clients because they're the ones that, as I say to our employees, they're the ones that indirectly pay you. I, as intermediate employer, CEO, president, operations manager, whatever you want to call me, I don't pay you. Well, how is it that you don't pay? You sign on the check. I go, well, that's wrong perspective and perception. I signed a certificate that I was given the authority to assign to you by the Department of Labor Board. But I really have transferred the funds to you. So it's really the understanding is why in my businesses it's so important to work on the client. I always say, if somebody says, but I work for you, I go, you don't work for me. How is it that you say that? I don't work for you. Because you don't. You work for the client. But the client doesn't pay me. I go, not directly, but indirectly, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Now I understand it. And that's the moment that someone is going to stay in this company. Mm-hmm. They understand it. They understand the aura, the environment that I built in my business.
So the most important thing that you look for is the value that you can give to your clients. As it says on the wall in your office, actually, strive not to be a success, but rather of a value.
That's correct.
That proves itself in your actions.
Most of our, businessmen, right? We're all driven. We're hardcore. A lot of us have egos. I always say, put it really deep in your pocket, because egos don't win deals. They destroy deals. I think humbleness wins and makes deals. Understanding the other side, not just crushing the other side. Putting yourself in their shoes. So I think the most important part, why that is part of our mission statement, is the mission statement, I shouldn't say part of it, is the mission statement, is we will always sell value and the success will come. The success comes with what you produce, not the other way around. If all you do is chase success, which is the profit margin, it's fine. But it's not going to get you long-term growth, especially wealth. Exactly.
So you work with a lot of partners in this business, which can be your clients as a partner, which can be an investor as a partner. How do you vet these partners? Like, what's the red flags that you spot on instantly that you have?
It's an excellent question. I think it's a psychological question as well. I think the business psychology it goes into a few sectors. I don't see that trust is given. It's developed. Friendship is not ever given. Is developed. Time should not be even given, because time not only is money, but time is the biggest value we have. We don't have more time. Today, the meeting that we're having, we'll never have that again. Mm-hmm. It's gone. It's spent. So what's the value behind it? Well, the value is that we're giving a chance to tell our listeners what we do here. Maybe somebody can take advantage of the pitfalls that I've had in my life and create value of that. But that's basically is where the bus stops for me, is value of success.
Avatar has done everything from custom luxury homes to government housing, schools, and historical restorations like the 1886 Mine Falls Gatehouse. What's the most personally meaningful project you've ever completed?
Well, they were all unique, right? So we've received a total of 3 historical awards. We don't really do a lot of historical work or retrofits, but when we do, it's amazing because sometimes people ask me, how do you go from ultra contemporary mindset to something of mid-century, which is closer, but how do you go from ultra contemporary to 1846 historical? It's not that easy. It's just a matter of putting yourself not only there, but truly respecting what that once was and giving it the rebirth that it deserves. Because those people are no longer here. They don't even know what the heck we're doing.
Yeah.
So George Washington visited the school in West Bath, which consisted of 14 students. Back then, apparently, it was what schools were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, what do we have today with private schools? We have all these AIs and all this craziness. And these people were just fortunate to even study some simple math, some simple language. Only 14 of them. So was that, I mean, West Bath is not a big town, but was that, I think it was like one of a few schools in Maine. And here we are resurrecting that. Literally the same desks are still there. We're touching the walls of all these, like truly the first president of this country walked
through
in that building.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. And to be awarded with an award, I'm pretty proud of that.
That should be a proud moment. Other than these 3 companies, you have a lot under one roof as operations goes. Your design, build models, planning, construction, all under one roof. And most developers don't operate this way. What convinced you to go vertical, and what do you wish more clients understood about this approach?
I'll tell you, design build was always embedded in my head, but to do design build projects, you really have to understand, and biggest thing, not just to understand the process and have a good handle on that, and having the right people under your team, but to have the experience to have anyone on your team or your clients to actually trust you that you know what you're doing. Why? Well, because it's not just designing, it's not just architectural, it's not just some feasibility study, it's not just construction. It's the whole caboodle. And what we strive the most on, and again, going back to strive to be of value, not the success will come within that, is the package of total cost. So for example, just today we had an onboarding interview with a developer in Cambridge, and our team, consisting of, on that project, of at least 10, not everybody will participate full-time at it, but they will take steps and different injection of their time and skills into that project. But we are giving a GMP, which is guaranteed maximum price. We're taking the well-assessed risk based on what? We don't know a lot of stuff, but we know that what we've done historically, we know very well. There's some contingencies that can come into play, but for the most part, we're taking a building that has to be demolished. We have to do geotech study. We have to do soil analysis. We have to project what the prices will be 2 years from now, which I don't think anybody can do.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a process where we de-risk the cost by having our partners in different parts of the world, like Turkey and China and Vietnam, and we have a logistical member on our team that speaks those languages and sources those deals. So that's the hedge on that, right? So we have a massive warehouse where we store stuff, and we basically hedge on what could happen. So we have our cost lists down. We know what they are. The product is here. We learned in COVID inception that product wasn't available, so you could pay for something whatever you want. It's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you timeline your
Guarantee
project? How could you guarantee exits and times? And who knows? The only thing we can't really guarantee is when we do a complete development, including financing, is the fees on the debt and financing, because that could go up and down. But even if it does go up, we again go against the hedge on our relationships, on our resources, and our cost basis, because at the end of the day, if I can cut, let's say, $1 million or $2 million on the construction costs and design fees, and the interest spiked up if it was variable, we can at least level that off, and at least, I guess, trump against inevitable or unknown. I should say unknown. That could be compiled with inevitable, but
Mm-hmm.
that is where I found the construction design build broken. Is that it was there, but it wasn't really
It wasn't a one piece.
of a full value.
Yeah.
It was design build, but we don't do this. We do this, but we quite can't give you that. And you're talking about modeling and pro forma of how this hotel or this multifamily is going to perform. We don't do that. We're design build. Why not? Why not come in and say we are feasibility, design, construction, underwriting, financing,
All in on the
exit.
one. Yes. Speaking of the costs involved, we're truly living in an interesting life, interesting times, where the interest rates are high and the affordability is pretty low as a historical statistics go. But you're tackling this problem in a unique way. You're trying to deliver luxury apartment livings at affordable prices. Like one of those projects that you have is a Grand Central Suites in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire,
Mm-hmm.
which is a 77 units, 8 stories, retail spaces, and all opening pretty soon in 2026. What's the story behind that project, and what does it mean for that part of the city?
Well, that's a very good question. You see, there's certain parts of the country, and I'm just going to start with New England, is that there's submarkets of markets. And those submarkets have potential that, let's see, I see. I understand that redevelopment of submarkets actually will become a market. So that to me is going early, just like Charlestown of Boston was not a market, now it's a market. Let's look at certain parts of Boston that, like Brighton was, really not a market. Now it's a full market of itself. What's the other one? I forget, but another submarket of Boston that became really
Somerville itself was
really developed strongly. I can't. Even Seaport of Boston was nothing.
Exactly.
Now it's just insane. So the value
Miami.
just keeps driving, and I see the same thing with Manchester. Um, it's a small city, maybe 150,000 people or so, but what it does have, what I saw the opportunity is that the average income wasn't quite strong for single family purchases. So I said, where are these people living? They must be renting. Where else could they be? Because I always say, if you can't afford a house and you can't afford an apartment, what's next?
You're gonna rent.
No, if you can't afford a house and you can't rent, what's next? You're a bum.
Yes, homeless.
So you're homeless. So let's not go to that level and just stop at the second bus stop, which is the rental. So I saw an enormous need for rental. Now, those people are still renting, but what condition are they renting under? Are they being taken advantage of? Are they being taken advantage of by the landlords, as we call them, slumlords? Are they really? Are the landlords appreciating their clients? Right. So they're not just tenants. I don't like to call them tenants. They're clients. They're the one that's whoever is paying you is a client.
Exactly.
Right. They're not a tenant. They're not some guy you can shove around or not care for. If a client is calling you, you're going to answer. What's the difference between tenant and client? Zero. No chance. No difference. So I said to myself, what's broken? They're not cared for. Would they care to pay a little more potentially if you gave them a lot more for their money? They would. Do they deserve it? Absolutely they do. Everybody does. Why can't they get what everybody else gets somewhere else? And if the town is willing and the town is open to developers' stumbling blocks and different obstacles, then there's a perfect setup. And if we are capable as a company to design and entitle and finance and put up the building, it's not easy. It never is. Some people just are harder to deal with than they need to be or should be. But from the public perspective, I'm very proud of this building, and many more to come. And I saw a vision for this, and I think Manchester is a great place to redevelop it. I do have a 10-year plan.
Nice. So one thing is that you talk about the affordability and how you can give back to the community in your own way. But on the other hand, there are some tools that government offers you as a developer to be interested investing in such cities or towns like Manchester, New Hampshire, or other places. One of those tools is opportunity zones. Can you explain for the listeners who aren't familiar what opportunity zones are and why you believe they are one of the smartest investment vehicles right now?
Well, we've all heard of give to the Caesar his share, right? So that's when the tax season comes, we have a tax liability, we call it a tax event, and you have to give a third or 45%. Capital gains are pretty serious. They are very pricey to swallow, if I could use that term. But how do we legally avoid those? Because one can say that, well, but I profited X amount of percent and I paid the taxes, and that's fine. I see that the taxes that are paid are part of your profit. And if that's legally allowed by the government, by this very government of the United States of America, to do certain things such as investments in areas that are in need of development, meaning the area needs to thrive and it has a chance to, it has the tools to. All we need you is to take the risk and invest your money, right? Speaking on the government's behalf. Then why not do that? So if there's an opportunity zone, or you ask the city to zone it as opportunity zone, which I have done before, it allows me to have different tax credits. those tax credits allow me to pay investors handsomely so they help us do the deal. Without investors, without equity, no deals get done. At least I've never been a part of it. And I'm not saying debt is easy, but debt is not as hard as equity. There's a lot more risk involved in equity. So those are the opportunity zones, and then of course there's a lot of different work that has to happen in order to qualify the opportunity zone. So it has to be recognized by IRS, not just plainly opportunity zone. Let's go invest. That's never going to work. But we'll get into that on another subject. But it's there's also other things that are like cost segregation and bonus depreciation on new product. But going back to opportunity zone, it also allows you to do tax abatement, property tax abatement. So there's so many different things. I talk about it like I eat it for lunch because I've done it so many times. But for those that are interested, should really listen to my podcast and maybe reach out. I'll be willing to help those that are looking to invest. And 1031 is a beautiful product to dump into qualified opportunity zone, because 1031 is what? It's just pushing the money that you'll never see. I think 1031 to me is not a vehicle of investment money moving, because essentially I want the money. I don't want to not see it. It's there. Maybe someday I'll see it. Maybe someday I'll pay through the nose to see it, or maybe my kids will see it. I have a different opinion of that.
That's a wealth transfer tool rather than investment for you.
Exactly. It's a wealth transfer, and we can get on that subject separately, but nobody ever gave me anything for free, and I'm not doing that for my kids either, because it made me who I am.
Exactly. Speaking of investors, Bridgewater Development partners with a lot of investors, obviously, and what is the ideal investor relationship look like to you? And what is the most important or one-of-a-kind question that every investor should ask a developer before writing a check?
So it's two questions really. So one is what is the ideal investor? I don't think there's an ideal investor. If I was to kind of be, I want to be non-biased to this, but the ideal investor is someone who is at least willing to learn, willing to understand. I'm not saying be reckless with money, meaning when I say by reckless, meaning, oh yeah, you want the money, here's the money. I would say you could say that's your favorite investor because the guy or the girl they don't ask many questions, so maybe that's ideal. But maybe it's ideal because the deal is ideal, right? But someone who understands it, someone who actually asks a lot of questions, that's an ideal investor, because I believe the questions should be set aside now. Another ideal investor is someone who is either an attorney or brings an attorney with them to vet out the deal. I like that. I like that process. I want everything transparent, and I want everything to be understood to the very sentence before the money's invested. And then I believe, what was the second question?
The second question, what is the question every investor should ask a developer?
Yes, so every investor should, and I think it goes into what I just said, is the questions investors should ask: what are they getting for the deal? I find some developers, they call the investor limited partner, right? So what is a limited partner? It has the word partner in it, obviously limited because you don't have the general power, you don't have the actual directive power, right? But you're a limited partner. You basically, you were brought in, or you joined the ship to get dividends from your investment, right? But if the ship is offering a dinner, you should be invited to it. And what I mean by that is when there's a cost segregation study and bonus depreciation, a lot of times developers keep it to themselves, basically not inviting them to the party. And I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because the limited partners that were not invited to the party are the ones that actually put the food on the table, but they're not eating it. That is a very, very deceiving model, even if it was signed that way and the investors did not understand this. But I think later on they will understand and they will never be back.
Speaking of cost segregation, since every investor, or at least they should ask you these questions, what is it for those who doesn't even know what is the cost segregation study?
Cost segregation, very good question. It's basically depreciation. So the study is, and why depreciation is so good on a brand new product, meaning, sometimes investors say, why are you building new construction? It's so much headache. It's so risky. First of all, I'll say, well, somebody's got to build. If nobody builds, then there will be no buildings and there will be nothing. But that's a joke. But biggest thing is like a car. I compare it to a car. When most of us have purchased a car and maybe had an LLC or a small business, and IRS allows you to write off either 20% per year for 5 years, or you can just unload the whole thing, right? 100% in the first year. Real estate works a little different, but it doesn't allow you to depreciate the entire building, just like a car would be. But it does allow you to do a massive amount of depreciation. However, if you're an investor or a group of investors and you guys are buying already performing product and it's 10 years old, somebody already depreciated it, I would think, right? And a lot of it, because all the income that they're getting from the tenants, i.e. clients, would be taxable, right? So it's income, so it should be taxable. But if you have enough cost segregation to dilute that, you don't pay the tax, right? That's the beauty of real estate. But when you're buying it after somebody owned it for 5 years or 10 years, they already depreciated that. So what's left for you? Not a whole lot. So I see a lot of investors go and buy a property that is 15, 20 years old, and they're like, paying taxes, always stressed out. I'm never stressed out. I don't pay taxes. Why I don't pay them? Because of all these vehicles that allow me to not pay the taxes legally. And one of them, again, I described the Qualified Opportunity Zone. I described, which is now 2.0 permanent, Trump made it. But less with politics, I'm just mentioning that who did that. And then you have the tax abatement, we talked about that. And then the biggest thing, which is normal for any project, it doesn't matter, it's Qualified Opportunity Zone or not Opportunity Zone, it doesn't matter. Cost segregation is not done on the land, it's done on the building. So it doesn't matter what it is, it's the building of itself. So the cost segregation is really massive. I mean, on a project that's worth about 2 million, our cost segregation study was $5.2 million first year. First year, right out of the gate. Yeah. 5.2 million.
And did you?
And that stays forever. So it doesn't stay for a year. You have to hurry up and find some income to distinguish the fire type of thing. But you're coming out of the gate negative 5.2. So coming out of negative 5.2, your tax abatement is pretty much zero. You're getting the land for free. So with our model, is what I'm saying, is by the time you own the building or part of the capital stack, LP, GP, general partner, limited partner, by the time we exit from the inception to the end, let's say it's 8 years to 10 years to be safe, you virtually triple your money on average, maybe even 3.5x, and you exit with no capital gains on the money that you put in and on the money that you made. Because of all these components that I just mentioned. It's just negative, a ton of negative, and slap it with a ton of positive, literally washes it out.
Yeah, evens it out, not washes it out, right? So we're coming to the end of our podcast. One question that I want to ask as last is that you talk about keeping yourself away from successful people for years because you were actually judging yourself, not them. If you could go back to, let's say, 19 years old Nazar in a room with one type of person, let's say a mentor, investor, competitor, who would that be and why?
Me.
Just yourself?
There's
explain
nobody,
it.
there's nobody in that room but me. And it goes back to the same question.
What would you say
asked.
to yourself as a 19 years old Nazar?
I'm the same guy. I'm the same guy, the same kid that wanted to build an empire. It's just that I didn't know what it takes. Now I do. And I'm still learning. So it's not an ideal situation because you want to have mentors. I've had mentors down the road. Some of them I exited because they admitted that I have overgrown them and I started to know more than they did. But life for me happened in such a way that I don't know if it's sadly to say that or proudly to say that, because I think mentors are really great to have. But I'm my own mentor, and what I feel that has embedded in me is that the stuff that I know, the stuff that I tripped up on and did it again and knew what's the truth and what's the way, and nobody can stand in front of me and say, no, you're wrong. I know what's wrong, what's right, if I know what I've done and what I didn't.
Through them.
Yeah, so that's where it reinstates yourself that this is how it works. Like, for example, there's a bull and a bear. I know it's a bear, and I know it's a bull, and there's no discussions, because that's it. I know there's God, and I know there's, some people that don't think that there's God. I know there's God.
You have your own
I've
truth.
been in moments of my life where he showed up. Okay, and maybe that's call it delusional or psychiatric discussion. That's for those to understand it their way. I know what is real and what is not, what is true, what is not. I know when you're building a building, what are the pitfalls and what is not correct and what is correct and what is quality, what is not quality. There's not even discussion. So things that I know. And I know them because I was that guy in the room by myself, learning it.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Nazar. That was a great discussion.
Yeah, man, this was good.
Thank you.
Love it.